Internet! It's time once again for Historical Gaming with Max Von Puppet. That's me! Today we're going to talk about what could possibly be the oldest known board game in the history of the world. Well, maybe. Truth is, there's little actual evidence to prove this is true, but it's still fun to think about. The game is called Mancala. Much like the Toffel family of games we discussed last week, Mancala is actually a family of games. Mancala games are played with pits or bowls and use stones or seeds as their playing pieces. They're often called sowing games, given their resemblance to early agriculture activities, and there's a theory that suggests these games were used in very primitive cultures as a way to teach children to not only count, but to sow seeds for planting. As the game doesn't require more than some scooped out indentions in the earth and a handful of seeds or stones, there's no real way to prove this one way or the other. The first real evidence we have of Mancala dates back to the 6th or 7th century AD from around Ethiopia. There's evidence that it gained some small popularity in Europe, but it never really caught a hold there, and faded away into obscurity. However, it did spread throughout Africa, the Baltic region, and Asia. Given the large number of countries and cultures that exist in these areas of the world that the game was spread around, you can imagine that there are lots of variants out there. And you would be right. Some games are played with only 2 rows of bowls, like this one before me, but some versions of the game are played with very large boards that can get as big as 160 pits and 320 seeds, and the rules and strategies can get more intricate than even chess. This version in front of me is a modern take of the game played here in the US of A, where it's pretty popular, and sold as Mancala. And it's also sold in the UK, but it's just called Kala there. There's all kinds of game boards available, some very detailed, some raised up like this one here, and some pretty simple like this wooden one down there. Most modern boards use plastic crystals, or dragon tears as I like to call them, as the seeds. Today, I'm going to show you the rules for the variant played here in the US. Here's how it works. First, let's look at the board. As you can see, we have 2 rows of 6 pits each for 12 pits total that make up the game board, plus these 2 pits here on the end that are your scoring pits. Each player gets control of the 6 pits that are in front of them. And then, so your opponent would have the other side. The gameplay is pretty simple. On your turn, you pick up all the stones in a bowl and sow them one at a time into the other pits, moving in a counterclockwise motion, or to your right, like this. Pick up all the bowls, all the seeds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta-da! You keep moving around the board, sowing as you go, even through your opponent's pits. So for example, if I were to move up all these, and it would allow me to move around the board, I would keep going through my opponent's pits, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have enough seeds to reach your opponent's score pit, you would skip it. In this game, you never score for your opponent. If you end your move by placing a seed into an empty pit on your side of the board, you get to score it. So in other words, if I were moving around and if I were moving seeds around and ended my score, my turn right there, because it's my empty pit, I get to score that 1 seed. When you run out of seeds, your turn ends. The exception to this, though, is if you can end your turn by moving a seed into the scoring pit, into your scoring pit. If you end your turn by moving your seed in your scoring pit, you get to go again. Now, some people play by the rule that you're not allowed to count the seeds in the bowl before you move. Other people play where you can. Obviously, this will make a huge difference in your strategy. I usually play where you can't. I think it makes it more interesting. Another variant rule that lots of people play with is called the capture rule, where if you end your turn by placing a seed in an empty bowl on your side of the board, not only can you score that seed, but also the seeds in the pit opposite it. So if I were to end my turn by scoring right here, I would get not only this seed, but these 4 seeds here as well. This makes gameplay much quicker and works some interesting strategy, as you try to prevent your opponent from getting to empty pits. And that's pretty much it. It's a lot of fun and easy to play, making it a great game for kids. It's also used by some parents and teachers as a way to teach counting. So there's that. Here in the US, it's pretty readily available through toy and game stores as well as online retailers. Prices vary depending on the size of the board you're getting, but most of them are pretty reasonable. And that's it for this week. Until next time, keep playing games. Bye!